If you've ever found yourself wondering what it might be like if the world of Postman Pat was plunged into the post-nuclear disaster woes of the Stalker games with a little sprinkling of Fallout New Vegas, Atomfall has you covered, I reckon. For those who haven't a Scooby, Atomfall is an upcoming survival RPG set in the Lake District in 1962, 5 years after the real-life Windscale nuclear disaster. Much like how Stalker adds a little unworldly twist to their post-nuclear disaster zone, it's not just radiation you need to worry about in Atomfall. But not only that, Atomfall builds upon that winning formula of Stalker and Fallout by adding its own twist, namely the lead system that makes hunting down characters in quests far more involved, relying on different clues that don't directly point you towards your objective, but instead a general area or a voice recording or NPC telling you about a certain character. In effect, there are no traditional objective markers. Rather, it's all a crashed helicopter next to the bridge, or if you're extra lucky, there are some grid coordinates to track down. I got to grips with this during an extended gameplay session at a preview event in the Woodman Pub in London, which had been sent back in time and given a do-over to become Grendel's head, found in the game. I also had the opportunity to sit down with fellow Scot and creative lead at Rebellion, Ben Fisher, to talk more about the lead system.
The other sort of differentiating factor is you're much more of a detective in this game. We don't have a traditional quest system. Instead, we've got leads, so you're piecing together an understanding of this game world and how it fits together. And you're never told like the good option and the bad option. There's not any single morally justified character. It's all shades of grey, and it's all to do with how you feel about dealing with the situation, who you think you can trust, those sorts of things.
Separating it further from the post-apocalypse stalwarts is the quintessential British setting, itself informed by many literary and media influences from across the decades.
So a lot of that came from the storytelling style of 1950s, 1960s UK, that kind of early Doctor Who, Quatermass Experiment, bits of John Wyndham. Also, setting it a bit wider, things like Prisoner, things like The Wicker Man.
Yes.
That kind of tense moral ambiguity, a murky situation where people are just trying to survive. Yeah. So that's tonally very different as well.
Yeah, I have to, just on that tonally, I did feel like I would turn around a corner and see the famous five sacrificing someone or something trying to survive.
Exactly.
And on that sort of British tropes, I was going around and I was very reminded of Grendel, and I thought, how would Postman Pat survive in the quarantine? Do you reckon he would have a good chance? Or?
I think he would. I mean, we've got bandits in the game who have police hats, so a swap to Postman Pat with a bit of war paint.
Yeah,
very, very nice.
Yeah, he'll do anything to protect Jess, I can imagine.
I think by 5 years in, he'll be wearing Jess's skin.
Well, maybe. Rest in peace, Jess.
Rest in peace.
On the topic of colloquial characters, much like I experienced during my review of Still Wakes the Deep, hearing characters in a game that have accents local to where you live really heightens the immersion. And though I am a dissenting Scot, talking to the native Cumbrians and hearing other regional accents was a delight.
Well now, ain't that the nub of it? Some say it was something them boffins are making in the labs. Others say it was something that was always here. Only now it's awake. I prefer not to think on it. Proper grisly thought, isn't it? Oh, there's not much anyway.
It's one of the aspects of the game that I found most alluring, and despite my time with Atomfall being relatively brief at an hour and a half, I quickly found myself getting sucked into its world and quests, even though I was plopped in some ways off from the start of the game. I put this down to the premise, setting, and vibes of the game, which are utterly unique. Not only that, the mysteries of Windscale called to me. Something the Fallout games do excellently is providing you with a location that piques your interest and sees you getting completely distracted from your current quest. Atomfall pulls this off spectacularly as well. Walking along an idyllic path, I came across the imposing Casterfell hydroelectric dam. After some metal detecting and snooping around, I stood above a large opening in the ground revealing blast doors. As any sane person would in a post-nuclear disaster zone, I jumped down and immediately started exploring. In short order, I found myself in a room going up against a ginormous robot equipped with flamethrowers. Though I wasn't able to defeat it with my middling supplies and equipment, I was keen to return as soon as I could to uncover the facility's secrets. Tech-wise though, Atomfall isn't pushing any boundaries. It is dated graphically speaking, but as someone who regularly revisits those old Stalker and Fallout games, I really don't mind, as the visual design is brilliant and excellently captures England's picturesque Lake District through the lens of a famous 5 book cover. This also has the added benefit of making Atomfall available to play on a wide number of last and current generation systems. I found myself thinking the game would be perfect to whittle away at on the Steam Deck, provided it runs well on the handheld system, though I imagine it will. Though I didn't play the demo at Gamescom, I got the impression that combat was much improved. It felt suitably crunchy and scrappy, with single-shot shotguns and rifles making you really consider each shot. Melee combat was a little awkward at times, but I soon got the hang of it. Later on, you can find more and more powerful firearms, but the game makes no secret that encourages you to try avoiding combat. Factions who are wary of you recognise the danger of getting into scrapes as well, and won't attack you on sight, unless you're trespassing, with a meter filling up indicating how close to becoming hostile they are. This didn't always work as intended for me, as coming up against some druids, cultists who are afflicted by the mysterious happenings of the zone, saw me and started to get pretty angry, and I ran away to try and break line of sight, but they could seemingly see me through the terrain and got aggroed nonetheless. But outside of this instance, I had a blast sneaking around enemies and getting into all sorts of bother. Towards the end of my playthrough, I made it to the village of Wyndham as I searched for a missing scientist. Wyndham is a charming little village on the shore of a lake overlooking the Windscale power plant, and it acts as a hub of sort for Protocol, a military faction policing the zone, and local residents. Here, there are plenty of leads to take on, with Captain Grant Sims and his stiff upper-lip timbre ruling the roost. Sadly though, my playthrough ended not long after arriving, but I was so keen to get stuck into every lead and talk to every colourful character I could find, which I'm going to take as a good sign.
I could have it. I could.
Behave yourself. Steady on, George. It's got guns on it, you know.
Stop pinning it out like it owns the place.
If you love Fallout New Vegas, I think you'll be right at home in Atomfall. But keep your eyes peeled for the review ahead of the game's launch on the 27th of March 2025. But that's going to be everything from us today, folks. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're as excited for Atomfall as I am. And if you did enjoy the video, be sure to give us a little thumbs up and consider subscribing to the Radio Times Gaming YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Activating suspicious.